All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call. All members are present except for Director Hackett. He will be late tonight. And we'll be expecting him in a little bit here. Board chair comments. I have just a couple. So we have the strategic plan update meeting on Wednesday, September 27th. So anybody that can be there, we really look forward to the feedback and collaboration on updating that. So there's 39 action items that are on that right now. Some of them we've closed out and some of them we need to update. So we really need the feedback from parents and the community on that as well. Second thing, the year's starting out great. Like, it's exciting to be around school and around the buildings. So I just want to say thank you to all the people, the district administration, the teachers, the paras, the cooks, the transportation department, the administrative staff, the custodial staff, technology staff, the nursing staff, and the volunteers that we have for starting out the school year and making it great for everybody. It's been great to hear about and great to see. And the last thing we've talked about a few times at board meetings, but again tonight you'll see. I want to say thank you to the community and all the groups that provide donations that allow us to do many things and provide experiences for our students. So there's usually 4 to 5. Tonight there's 5 places that have donated to us for various things, and we really appreciate that support. So thank you to those as well. That's what I have for board chair comments. Next is the superintendent evaluation summary. So we did a closed meeting on August 28th to conduct the superintendent evaluation for the 22 and 23 school year for last school year. So in attendance, we had directors Bauman, Boyd, Hackett, Hofstad, Roaring, and Trout, Superintendent Weirkamp, and Executive Assistant Michelle Brzezinka. So we reviewed 3 performance goal areas that the board had set for the 22-23 school year. So it was set strategic plan and priorities with stakeholders, implement that strategic plan, and school safety were the 3 areas that where she was evaluated. So Dr. Herman was effective in all goals set for the 22-23 year and continues the diligent work improving our governance, team standards, finances, community engagement, student support, and leadership. The role of superintendent is ever changing with funding, legislation, culture, and human resources challenges here and across the state. So I want to say thank you for your dedication to the Royalton schools and your leadership to make our team better. So that's the evaluation summary from that. Next is, I'll take a motion to approve our agenda.
So moved.
All right, Director Trout. Second, Director Bowman. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. All right, appreciation, recognition, and presentations.
Chairman Hofstad, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Weirkamp Herman, Caitlin Frenchick, the activities director. We have 2 athletes that we would like to recognize. The first one would be Hannah Kruger. For 2 different things. The first is she reached 1,000 digs, which is a pretty big defeat or achievement. And then before that, she was also named the Central Minnesota Conference Player of the Week. That was 2 weeks ago, I think so. For her efforts in the digs and just her dedication to the volleyball team. So thank you.
Sure.
That's fine. We're gonna take a picture. We're gonna go over there. Who's dressed up? Thank you.
The next activities related recognition would be for Kylie Watasik for her commitment to play Division I basketball at Foxborough. Valparaiso, sorry, University next year. I think one of the first ones for the girls' basketball program to go Division I, so that's a huge feat. So congratulations. It just steps in.
That's right, I'm way behind it.
New way to think about it, I guess.
Thank you.
Chair Hofstad, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Werkamp, Joel Swenson, middle school, high school principal. I'm here to present Nate Moga. He was gonna be here tonight, but I'm not sure. Is
Play practice.
that what it is? Kids are busy. College Board has a program that recognizes approximately 72,000 students across the country. The awards, in this case, honor underrepresented students in College Board, AP, PSAT, all of those things that are the processes of the College Board. For Nate Moga, he was awarded and recognized in the National Rural and Small Town Award from College Board, which is small town students are an underrepresented population for the College Board, obviously just for logistical reasons, but you have students in smaller schools have less access to AP courses and international baccalaureate, and as a percentage of student population are not taking some of those bigger exams that might be happening in the more urban school districts. But Nate was one of our students who was recognized with the National Rural and Small Town Award from the College Board. So congrats to Nate.
That's it, okay. Awesome, thank you guys. Recognition of citizens for input purposes. You guys can take off.
This would be good for any government class. They won't be their homework. It's like past government.
Sorry. All right, reports and news, board committee report. So we'll start with finance.
Finance met on September 19th. There wasn't a whole lot to update. There was a discussion about mid-state, the expenses for mid-state and how other districts utilize lease levy. We talked a little bit about the enrollment, just slightly down compared to last year. And that was about the depth of it. And I think Scott will share more this evening.
Yep. All right, and policy. So we have a thick folder of, I don't know, there's probably 120 pages in there of policies that we're going through right now. So We have two of them that were not substantial change. They were just, subsection spelled out on two of them. And we had just approved these a little bit ago. But with the current legislation, there was, just a couple things that changed. So those are gonna be a second reading for approval. There's a whole lot that we are taking to a third look. Well, it'll be a fourth look, but we're gonna look over again because we didn't have time to get through all of them. And there's a whole lot that came out with this last legislation, and I'm really glad that we're taking the time to comb through it piece by piece, as long as it takes, because it's a lot. But we want to make sure that we have everything correct. Is there anything you want to add?
I would just maybe throw on your guys' radar policy 601. We just recently finished that one, and then legislation pushed a bunch of changes through, quite a significant change to that. So if people in the community ask questions, you would probably want to know all the changes that have been made to that policy, the new language that's being put in it, and a lot of the things are being deleted from it. That would be the only one that was on my radar, to make sure you guys are well aware of that one.
Absolutely. Thank you. Superintendent report.
So I have forwarded you all an email now. We're members of MREA, and so they do have a lot of good communications that come from there. So you can go ahead and receive those emails by just following the prompts of the one I forwarded to you. Also, just to give you a heads up that we are doing a little bit of clearing up in the space where that we had talked about, maybe a track or field someday, just clearing that so our golf team will be able to hit some balls out there in the spring. Now, our male, high school male team probably will not be able to use a driver there. It's not quite long enough for that, but they will be able to use their shorter clubs, so they should have a good short game. Or they get to practice that. So just letting you know, we're doing some work there to get that cleared. Doesn't take a lot of effort, I don't believe. And then, I did attend a law conference on Friday, and I was really hoping they would talk about earned safe and sick time. That was not on the agenda. Just gave us some good ways of thinking of managing our process. And one of that is ensuring that we have a good volunteer and visitation policy. So which we do have a policy, just making sure the language covers us in the event that someone are come into our schools that comes probably saying positive intent, but not behaving according to the way we want to. So just listen to some of those and took notes for our team. I am still sitting in a lot of different groups of MASA and our Region 5 group with the superintendents around here to keep learning more and more about how earned safe and sick time will impact us. That will begin in January, and so Amy is also listening to different webinars and such, and so we will keep learning and then sit down and figure out a way to actually implement this to the letter of the law and then track it all, because I think that's going to be the major part is the tracking. So otherwise, off to a good start to our school year, and things are going along smoothly, I believe.
All right. Any questions for Dr. Weirdman? Okay. Scott, we'll go to business manager's report.
Yes, thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I am Scott Morayan, business manager for Royalton School District, and I love this time of year, but I also don't like this time of year because my report is pretty simple. There's really nothing to report on as of right now. However, I'm knee deep in audits and working on last year's still while everybody's moved on to the new fiscal year. I'm still cleaning up the old fiscal year. So the Royalton audit does start here in a couple weeks. I'll be updating the board on that, discussing if we need to do any fund transfers or if we want to put anything into assigned funds. But we'll discuss that at the next board meeting. And just so you guys all know, that has to be into the state by November 30th. So I'll be working on that over the next couple weeks. And I will also update the board on the first time for the FY24 financials at the next board meeting in October. The reason why we wait until October is so we can get the salaries and the benefits to hit for a couple payrolls so that we have some data to look at. Otherwise, we're just looking at pretty simple stuff and not a lot of action going on. So, and then I'll be speaking again later on the levy certification. So.
All right. Any questions for Scott? All right, thanks, Scott.
Yep.
Principal report.
Chairman Hofstad, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Werekamp. Here to give just a quick update on a few things. Thanks to Chair Hofstad for highlighting the positive start to the school year. It has been a good start. Excited to have kids in the building. You know, everyone needs a break in June and the building quiets down and go through some of the summer processes and the building gets cleaned up and projects get done. And every year about August 1st, you start tapping your fingers and waiting, and it's exciting you get to open house and you see the kids come back. And this building is meant to have kids in it. And it's always an exciting time of year to see them come back and hear of their adventures and see how much they've grown up even over 3 months. But we've had a great start. We get it off the ground and it's positive, stable staff, well-behaved kids. It's just a pleasure to be back in school with them. And so thank you for recognizing that good start to the school year. It definitely has been. Our final position for summer 23 started today. We had our last para position start today. I'm hoping by reporting that to you that the wheels don't fall off tomorrow morning. But we are hired and have a full staff and feel very fortunate for that when you talk to people in other places and other schools that are still trying to find people even in critical positions. And so we're very fortunate that way. And then next week is homecoming. So this weekend I'm going to sleep all weekend and no, it's going to be a busy week. We start with there's a color run Friday. I've never done a color run, but I understand you run and they throw chalk and stuff at you and get you all colored up. And so our kids are going to do that as a fundraiser for needy families in the area. That'll be Friday afternoon during 8th period. Coronation will be Sunday night at 6 in the cafeteria. During the week, we'll have a number of dress-up days, and some activities going on. Friday, then we do our annual homecoming Olympics, which has been, the homecoming Olympics have been a tradition here. This is year 25 for me. We've done it every year for 25 years, and the kids get excited. And we used to do the entire school in the North Gym for those Olympics, and now there's no chance of that whatsoever. We are utilizing every bit of space that we can and have to break it up into middle school, high school, and really the kids put in a lot of work. The student council does a lot of work getting this week prepared. The football team plays St. Cloud Cathedral for the homecoming game on Friday night at 7. The parade will be at 5 p.m. starting at the elementary school, going down by the church, then to City Hall, and then back up Center Street to the high school. There will be a tailgate party after the parade until the start of the football game that is hosted by the junior prom committee. They do burgers, and if you're coming to the game and don't want to make dinner on Friday night, they do burgers and chips and stuff. And Mr. Shaw leads up that group. And so we're looking forward to a great week of activities. It's fun to see the kids get excited. People got to be wondering, they got to drive by on when kids are getting picked up on the bus on Friday morning and say it's got to be homecoming in Royalton. Because our kids are decked out in maroon and gold and glitter and face paint and the whole thing. It's fun to see them get into that and to have as much fun as they do with the homecoming Olympics. So any questions for me? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Chair Hofstad, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Werekamp. I did my email last week to parents in the newsletter. I said how odd of a week it was last week. because it was a full week and there weren't any programming interruptions at all. It's an odd, rare thing in a school year where you have an entirely full week and there's no interruptions at all. And that's what we've had the past 2 weeks is things have been pretty smooth. There hasn't been interruptions. We got a fire drill in. That's about the excitement, you know, otherwise things are going well. I'm out and about in classrooms, pop my head in saying good morning to lunches. And when you don't show up to lunch, kids notice, you know, they missed you at lunch, Mr. Newman, where were you? Yeah, I had something going on, I couldn't make it today, but so they notice, you know, out on the bus or on the pickup line and greeting kids and smiling and that's what it's all about. So it's been pretty smooth so far. It's been a great start. We had our first bell ringing ceremony that second Friday of the school year, just to kind of kick off everything. Get all the kids all jacked up for the school year and kind of just come together as a school. And Ryan the Lion made an appearance and the kids loved it. And so that was fun. We're now getting into field trip season with a bunch of stuff going on this week. 5th grade goes to Deep Portage. They leave Wednesday morning. I'll come back Friday afternoon before we get out of school. Also on Friday, 2nd grade goes to Camp Ripley. So they'll be out of school on Friday. The following week, 3rd grade goes on a field trip to the Mille Lacs Native American Museum in Onamia. 1st grade goes to Oliver Kelly Farm in Elk River next Friday. And then the week of MEA, already thinking about MEA, is 4th grade goes to Itasca State Park on Monday the 16th, and then the kindergarten goes to Triple S Pumpkins on the 18th. So they are busy with stuff going in, but getting in classrooms and seeing that learning take place, and the kids are engaged and they're happy to be there. We're all happy to be there as well. With homecoming next week, we are following dress up days, just like the high school is, so we are aligned that way. So our communications between Swenson and myself there's no change. All the stuff that put out on Facebook and Instagram, all that stuff is the same. So that's nice. Next Friday, I was contacted by student council. They're gonna come over down here first and do their kind of elementary style Olympics for the pre-Kers and the kinders, and then jump over to the elementary school. But unfortunately, we have 2 grades out next Friday, so they'll kind of mix things in for the 4th grade, 5th grade, and 2nd grade. So otherwise, happy to be here. Any questions?
All right, athletic director.
Chair Hofstad, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Camp Herman, Kaylin Frenchick, Activities Director. Fall sports are well on our way. I think we're pretty much at the halfway point for our fall seasons for our high schoolers. And about 2 weeks in, are just finishing up 3 weeks actually now for the junior high. Been busy with at least one home event every single week. We can continue to get registrations. We had a couple of late ads for fall sports, but then now we're starting to gear back up for our winter activities. Some program updates for volleyball. We have 38 girls on the roster, 9 through 12. With the higher numbers, we've actually been able to add a couple of JV2 games, which gives those girls a little bit more playing time, which is helpful. Our varsity is having a great start to the season. I can't remember exactly what is their overall record, but I know for conference play, they're 3-0. They had a very exciting match against Painesville last Thursday. They went into 5 sets, and it was a good game. They play tomorrow home versus Uppsala, and then they travel on Thursday. For football, we have 44 boys on the roster, 9 through 12. We've picked up a couple boys in the last couple weeks. Looking to add a few more wins during the second half of the schedule. We do have Eden Valley this coming week, which could be a tough task just because they're very strong this year. The homecoming game, like Principal Swenson said, is October 6th versus Cathedral. Our cross-country teams are doing well. We have 34 athletes, that's 7th through 12th grade. Girls competed last week with a full team, scoring team, which would be the first time in like 2 years, I believe, which is a good sign. And then the boys are having a competitive start. I know they've been making improvements from meet to meet. Our home meet is Tuesday, October 10th. So we're always looking for more helpers to make sure kids stay on course versus veering off. For junior high numbers for volleyball, we have 31 girls out. 12 of those are 7th graders and the remainder, with the math in my head, should be what, 29, no, 19 would be 8th graders. And then for football, we have 37, 15 are 7th graders, and then 22 would be 8th graders. I know our football team has had some injuries and some other things, so our 7th graders are 7th grade team's a little small. So we've been trying to piece together the games just to make it safe for them. For homecoming, the coronation is on October 1st. The candidates for homecoming queen are Bailey Beckers, Brooke Wiener, Ella Zimney, Kylie Watashik, and Claire Prokot. For king is John Bisdock, Cal Ullman, Nick Weibel, Ryan Van Eerden, and Ethan Block. For home events, on Monday, we, for volleyball plays Foley, which is also a Dig Pink and Parrots night for them. And then we have JV football versus Ean Valley. Thursday, volleyball is also home again versus Holdingford, and the junior high football versus Ean Valley. And then our football will take on Cathedral. For our other activities, the fall play has had auditions last Thursday and practice has started. Robotics is starting, I think, this coming Sunday. And many of our other activities have had the first meetings to kind of get their events and activities going for the year. So it's off to a good start. Any questions?
Thank you. All right, and community ed.
Chair Hofstad, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Workham Herman, Amy Kruger, the Human Resources Director and Community Ed Director. I was told to keep it short tonight. So mine won't be as long as everyone else's. Pre-K, just wanted to give you an update on our pre-K. We are fully staffed. That is awesome. We have 96 kids enrolled, 3 and 4-year-olds. And we've had 2 great weeks of kiddos coming in. Our pre-K will also follow the homecoming schedule and the dress up days, just like the elementary and the high school, middle school, high school. In MAP, we currently have 87 kids enrolled, and I've been cruising right along in our MAP program. I don't have a whole lot else to tell you yet. We will be digging into some finances and things like that for MAP very soon, but just wanted to kind of get that off the ground and rolling. And then community ed, just to highlight a couple of different things. Our biggest class right now for adults is pickleball. We started that for the first time last week. We had 29 people enrolled. They had a blast. We had 4 courts set up in the central gym, and they've begged for 2 more. So it's been awesome. Shields, I was able to get a donation, you'll hear later, but Shields donated some money, and we were able to get 2 portable pickleball nets, which has been awesome. Intermediate aged kids, Lego Mania was our huge class for that. We have 3 different sessions, but the first session happened and there were 16 kids enrolled, so completely maxed out. And then pre-K and K kids, we had a games galore class that maxed out at 10, and we had all those kids here and they were having a blast with one of our preschool teachers. So really good stuff happening in community ed. We're gearing up for our second round of classes. I'm starting to plan those. I was supposed to do that today and then other things happened, so that'll happen this week yet. And our Royal Review will be out the first week in November with hopefully classes for all ages and some different offerings. I also am still working on the survey. Currently, I had 31 people take our community ed survey, which gave us some great ideas and feedback for some classes to come up. So I'll be looking for adding some of those classes by people's requests. Any questions for me?
Are we going to paint the tennis courts so we can do pickleball out there next spring?
That depends on you guys. No, I have had that request a ton, and actually I've also had a request for, can we put pickleball courts on some flat surface here at the high school and at that elementary, and that actually is on our agenda for tomorrow's admin meeting for Tony to see, are there spaces that we could put pickleball out there just to get kids involved in pickleball. And then, yes, that has been the group. There's a big group of adults who want us to redo the pickleball or the tennis courts and make them pickleball courts. They're really rough right now. I haven't been out there, but I've been told they're really rough and they need to be resurfaced. So I said, well, this group could really help us out, and maybe we could do some fundraising and some different things to help be able to do that. So my goal was, if we got enough people involved in wanting to be doing pickleball, that maybe we could put some sort of tournament together, pickleball tournament, that's a fundraiser to help with some of that. So we'll see. But definitely an ask of a lot of people. They want it outside and to be able to play when it's nice out. There were a lot of sweaty people in that gym. They were like, I cannot believe I can sweat this much. I sweat as much as I did running, playing pickleball. They had a blast. It was so fun. So.
right.
Any other questions?
All right, thank you. All right, next is the consent agenda approval. So the board is consenting to approve items listed below as presented at one time. At any point, a director can pull an item off the consent agenda for further discussion. Approval of all items on the consent agenda with approval of regular board meeting minutes from August 28th, claims, accounts, and financials. Approve accounts payable, receivables, and employee reimbursements as attached, and approve all other financial reports as presented. Approval of the 5 resignations and the 3 new hires based on the findings of each individual's background check, licensure status, and discipline report. Approval of the AFSCME contract. Approval of the non-union 9-month contract. Approval of the non-union 12-month contract. Approval of Director of Technology contract. And approval of salary schedule for community education. Is there anything anybody wants to pull?
I just asked a question.
Yep.
On several of the contracts, the grids where they show like steps with salary rates. Some of them had at the bottom, like it would go down in salary, so I don't know if that was typos or intentional. I saw that on at least 2 different contracts that I saw. I didn't look, it was a fine tooth comb, but like I'm just sitting on the community ed one right now. The supervisor at step 7 gets $21.98, and then step 8, $19.31. I saw that on the non-union contract too, like there was.
The 9-month one.
Yep, the bottom steps, like all of a
9
sudden got decrease in pay.
So
So
then an error.
I felt there's a couple errors on those contracts.
So should we pull those and,
I mean, I certainly don't want to go back and say.
right? Yeah, so let's pull, which 2 are those? That was the community.
Community ed and non-union 9-month. For sure had them.
That looks correct.
All right, great catch. I didn't catch those. There's a whole lot of other stuff, but I think we're good there. So, all right, so I will entertain a motion to approve 9A, B, C, D, E, G, and H.
So moved.
Director Bellman,
Second.
Director Roaring. Any other discussion? All right,
I can have one question on the
Yep.
claims accounts and financials, just to understand better. There was just one spot on, the accounts payable that had a charge to Cisco. Is that just our average, or is that our monthly food expenditures broken down, it was broken down into like breakfast, lunch, employee meals, lunches. Is that our order from Cisco for our food supply here?
Yeah. it's
Or was
for
that a
food supply.
something?
No,
Okay,
it's for food supply.
okay. I just didn't know if it was a once in a,
I don't
I
know
hadn't
how
seen
often,
it.
if it goes every single month, she might order more in bulk
okay,
to cover.
just want to understand that line, like that item. Thank you. Sure.
All right. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? I abstain. Motion carries. All right, number 10, approval of levy certification.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, Scott Ryan again. We are looking to approve the levy certification to the max tonight. I'll explain what that means. By September 30th, every single district in the state, or K-12, traditional K-12 school district, needs to certify their levy. We could try to mess around and get these numbers to be exact, but it changes so much between now and when we actually do the levy truth and taxation meeting in December. So it is easier for each school district to levy to the max, and then we'll make any changes between now and that time in December. It's standard protocol that we do every single year. Does everybody understand that we do that, or have any questions on why we levy to the max right now? Yes.
I don't have a question, but one thing, when I first started, you had talked about how levying to the max also make sure we get our full funding. So I don't know for the new board members if they understand that, of why we levy to the max. I don't know if you want to explain.
Yeah, so levying the max will include things, there's an array of different things that we levy for, each school district levies for. It was brought up earlier in the finance meeting that we had talked about levying for the building at Midstate. So all of our neighboring districts that are part of Midstate, they all levy for that building. We chose not to. For those that have been on the board for a while, I did ask the members in the meeting if we would be open to doing that again, or doing it. We haven't done it before, so if we'd be open to doing that, because it is about $40,000 to $45,000 that we're spending each year that is coming out of our general fund to cover that cost of that building, where all the rest of the members are levying for that. So that's it's more revenue for them to use for the students and staff. It would be a very small impact on the taxpayers of Royalton. We're talking cents, for each household to cover that particular building. But it also includes, when I say levying the max, it also includes things like community education, adults with disabilities, general fund, the debt service to pay off our past referendums that we have passed, to pay off that debt service. So, and then also Q count too, but we're not a Q count district, so we don't levy that in Royalton, but a lot of districts do. So with that said, we're just maximizing the dollars that we can get out of the levy right now by putting in the max, to ensure that our counties know what we're looking for, so they can try to budget that. But then between now, when we levy the max, and when we actually do the truth and taxation, we'll back off anything that we don't levy for, including the building for Midstate, or anything else that we choose not to levy for. Hopefully that has answered your question, but it is very complicated. And if you guys ever want a good nap, I encourage you to go to one of these levy presentations. It's about 40 pages of a lot to look through. But there is the Dr. Weirkamp helped me out with the ATC, the $724 each district can levy for. We don't have to go to the public to get that $724 that we would get for each student. We can levy for that, and that would help out our school district, and like I said, serving the students and the staff that we have. Trying to think of what else is on there. Community ed, general fund, debt service. I'm covering the big ones.
We don't levy for adults with disability. Nobody out here does. That's a whole different program that's pretty dated.
Right. Not a lot of districts do. So then come December, you know, I'll sit down with all you guys, I'll come up there and go through that whole presentation showing how where all the revenue is coming from within our district, whether it be state revenue or federal revenue or levy revenue, and just showing you the percentage and the breakdown of each one of those, what all goes into funding the school district. I think it's a great presentation and a good one for those that haven't been on the board all that long to understand where all the revenue aspects are coming from to, you know, help our school district.
We've max levied basically every year, correct?
Correct. Yep. It's very uncommon for a school district not to. You know, it's something they do every single year, and I've done it with all my districts. And then I will go in and I'll back things off. I mentioned Q Comp. I have other districts, so they levy the max, but then I zero that out between now and the levy. So that's not something you guys need to worry about. I take care of that, and then I work. You know, I'll go through that with Dr. Werkamp probably 3 or 4 times before we come to the board with it.
I'm gonna motion to approve levy certification at maximum for 2023-2024 years, pay in 2025.
Motion by Director Bellman, second by Director Trode. Any other discussion?
I will just mention really quick that I do need, I sent the levy certification to Michelle. That does need to be signed tonight. And then she'll send that to me tomorrow, and it just needs to go to our home county. So I'll send that to them tomorrow. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. All right, aging technology equipment.
Chair Hofstad, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Werkamp. Just going through some more equipment that we had. A lot of this is computers. It's the old elementary teacher computers that we collected last spring that were replaced. So just looking to get rid of some of it, get some money while we still can. I went through and got quotes from the same 3 companies that I got the last time. So Total Technologies, Diamond Assets, and then Second Life Mac. So, and Total Technologies is what we went with last time, and it went well. So, yeah. Question.
I have a question. Are any of these devices like usable? Or are they just like gonna buy them for parts?
No, they're all, for the most part, all of them are usable.
Just not a question, but I don't know, like in the future, if there's any way, and maybe you can, since it's a public school, like. So like if we have students that are in need, I know they all get their Chromebook, but some of them. Could potentially use these at home or something like that. I don't know, again, I don't know. I don't know that you can do that, but. I don't know that you can do them. Cause it was
I'd have to
purchased
look
with the
into that,
public
yeah.
funds, so I don't know how any of that would work, but
Right. And it has to be for public purpose.
yeah.
And all of this would go back into the general fund, correct? Or does it go into the tech?
I believe so, yeah.
General fund. David will say to me, we should put it in the technology fund.
No,
But-
David.
David and Tony developed them.
So, and typically we get somewhere between the B and C pricing. It would probably be pretty rare to get A pricing on them, but typically we'll get the B and C.
All right,
Motion to approve.
motion by Director Bellman,
Second.
second by Director Roaring. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Thanks, David. And technology fee waiver, you get to stay up here. I see that. All right, so, I asked for this at one of our last, at the last meeting, talking about it, what we looked like last year for how many applications for free and reduced we had versus how many this year when we offered to waive the tech fees, for the insurance for families to see how that changed what it was. So that's kind of the reason behind this.
Yeah, so we pulled the data from last year. Last year we had a total of 168 applications. Majority of the applications last year were paper. And then we had about 20 or 25 online. Altogether, we collected just over 17,000 for tech fees. So last year, if they didn't qualify, they paid $25 for the tech fee. If they did qualify for free and reduced, then they got it for 12. Whatnot, so that's where that number came from. We had a total of 288 students who qualified last year. This year, we got 269 applications. There were some duplicates. Some families filled out an application even though they qualified through Direct Cert. And then we had some people who filled out a electronic copy in Skyward, and then they also submitted a paper copy. So there's that. We waived a total of 553 tech fees. Total cost to us would have, or that we could have collected, would have been $13,825. Again, that's if they paid full price. So we didn't, we don't have the price for, had they qualified. We refunded a total of 55 tech fees this year, so we had some people who qualified for Direct Cert or through an application that we received. And so because of that, then we refunded their money. And then we had a total of 178 tech fees that people paid rather than filling out applications. So that was 4,450 that we collected. Then this is just a breakdown of the different applications. So Skyward applications was way up. We had 175. Direct certification, we had 244. Paper applications, we had 30. 11 of those had already qualified for or through Direct Cert. And then a total number of 281 students qualified. So slightly down from last year.
Can you explain what is Direct Certification mean?
So they have, through a different source like PVBT, and we get notified that they've already have arrangements for other services and they can notify us directly.
I see.
That's new. So, and it's helped because it takes less pressure off families. They don't have to fill anything out then for us.
Okay.
But they're still kind of learning that too. So that's why some people filled it out.
I see. Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. MCA.
Chair Hofstad, members of the board, and Superintendent Dr. Weerkamp Herman. I get the pleasure of bringing you data. So I am Nicole Cole. I am the District Assessment Coordinator as well as the Technology Integration Specialist here at Royalton Schools. And so I get the pleasure of putting together all this data for the teachers to make sure and to look at aligning their benchmarks and their lesson plans and making adjustments as they go and teaching them how to use our data warehouse where these all get pushed into and stored, how to use that to maximize these results in their, to benefit the kids or the students in their classrooms and make adjustments as needed. So before we get started, there is a document that I wanted to share that comes out from MDE, Minnesota Department of Education, on the appropriate and inappropriate uses of the data. So I've got this, so we don't all have to squint to try to read that. So if you go to the next page, I've got larger ones for you so that we can see. So appropriate uses are to look at overall proficiency for grade, school or district or district. And to compare results across student groups. So that could be per grade, that could be struggling students or those identified by intervention services. But inappropriate would be used as a mandatory indicator for program placement. We would never use that to say a student needs special ed services or should go into the gifted talented program based off their MCA score. Because much more thought and partnership with parents and families need to be taken into account before something like that happens. And then focus only on individual student scores for planning and instruction. So they take the MCA scores, like I said, with the teachers, they look at it according to their benchmarks and what they're working on currently in there. And then other data that they'll get from FastBridge testing, which is another mode of testing, and other assessments and homework that they're doing within their classrooms. So we also use it to look at changes in achievement level results over time. So we do get a lot of trend data from this, and you'll see that in the coming slides. The use as one of multiple data points for school and district decision-making. Use scale scores to calculate individual student growth is inappropriate, and use results in isolation to prioritize which students to receive instructional support, again, such as special ed or any intervention services. And they had one last extra inappropriate use in isolation to evaluate teacher effectiveness. So this would never be used towards their performance evaluations as just one point in how a teacher is effective or ineffective in their classroom. First, we'll go over overall district results. So as I go, if you have questions, feel free to interrupt me. So as a district in math, you'll see on the bottom, we have state proficiency. So proficiency for the state and for Royalton overall means that a child met or is above. That's what means that they're proficient. If they are partially meets or does not meet, they are below proficiency, okay? So right now, the ones that are highlighted are the ones who's more proficient. So if we came above the state or below the state. So you can see how we're kind of going around staying tight to math and reading in the district. The last couple of years, keeping above on that reading. Here in science, we have stayed up above science every year since 2019. We go back as far as 2019 because that's as far back as the records will go. For the new board members, 2020, the word COVID comes in, there was no testing. So we have no data during that time. This is where we get to see, so we break it down for free and reduced and our special education students, which you'll see on the coming slides as well. We look at, is there any inequality going on for students that have any home struggles or any economic struggles? So as you can see, we actually don't. Our free and reduced comes out ahead every time, or has every time. And actually a pretty good gap, at least 10% above state proficiency each year. And same with science. Special education, they're a little more up and down, but also pulling in consistency in the last couple of years. Again, this is across the whole district. So this is every student, elementary on up. Those that test, it's grades 3 through 11. Break it down by grade. So this is just a high level for each grade. And this is where it comes in for teachers to look at their grade, but it also by grade, you have to understand it's a different group of kids for every year. So on this data, we can reach back a couple years extra on these. There's science is only tested in 5th, 8th, and 10th grade. Fifth graders show that they're pretty well ready to advance into middle school just about each year, especially in math. And then when they get to 6th, we struggle a little bit. And we look at, this is where we start to use this type of data to look at, is it a transition thing? Going from an elementary where they're the oldest to the middle school where they're the youngest, we start asking those more in-depth questions. We start looking at different ways of teaching. Is it, you know, different approaches, different lessons, that kind of stuff that could be used. I know it's not the most exciting. It is kind of fun when it first comes out though. So once they get to 10th, they're going to do reading and science. And then in math, they're not going to do that again until 11th grade, and that'll be the last time that they test. Any questions or anything that didn't make any sense in that?
How often is the data used? As in, how often do we go back and look at it going throughout the school year? Is it a twice the school year thing or once a month thing or? how is that?
So right now we're working on integrating that. Actually, I'm working with Mr. Newman and Mr. Swinson on going in and it's starting actually tomorrow morning, going into staff meetings and starting to show teachers how to dig into this, into the data and how do they work into that. So they're going to start using that in their PLCs.
So I can comment that they've set PLC goals and they've been trained on having a high quality effective PLC. So the set PLC goals, and then they'll be able to take this data and help them look at substrands and such from these particular tests that affect them and how they might use that data influence alongside their other data, like their own assessments as well as FastBridge assessments, and try to triangulate that data to help support them in how they want to move forward with their students, with their particular goal.
Yeah, and the other reports that we get with this is benchmarks. So are they making that state benchmark that says students should understand this, they should understand this, and whether or not they're hitting each of those benchmarks. And so I'm coming up with a trending chart for them to see how those trends are coming out. Do they need to kind of focus on one benchmark over another? And then they can work together in their teams across the district and within their buildings to be able to structure a spiral up in their lesson plans or however they think is most effective.
So this is a newer process that we're implementing? Is that what I'm hearing you say? Or is this a process that we've already currently?
They've been using data, but we're trying to get it a bit more streamlined for them, to use our viewpoint system that we have so that they can pull their own reports through that system.
I see.
Yeah. Yeah, MCA data has always been used in this way. So it's always a great thing when we have as many kids as possible to give us as much data as possible so that we can look at, get a good overall picture of what's happening where and how that's happening, especially with those benchmarks, because the state sets the benchmarks.
I have a sort of fast bridge. How often do we do that?
That is, so they're actually just in the window now, for fall, and then in winter, so they'll go again in January, and then they're gonna go again in spring,
Okay. Are like the
MCA.
levels or the levels they get, does that compare to MCA? Like, can you look at, okay, they got 47.2 on MCAs. Now they're getting 50 on that, like, do those?
That's a
do they
great question,
correlate? Do you know what
actually,
I'm saying?
so, yeah, no, I know
Okay.
exactly what you're saying. So actually, we can, go into FastBridge and we can do custom benchmarks in there, which I just found out, so I actually haven't told them that we can. That we can actually set custom benchmarks, which is, to the same scoring levels as those, so we can mirror them.
Yeah, not that
actually.
like we have to use that, I'm just curious, like if you can somehow.
And this was
But
one
yes, it's
day,
possible.
yeah, we always
Right,
remember, this is just one day
Yep.
that students take a test, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you were sick that day, then they'll, a lot of different variables come in, whereas at least with Fastbridge, we get 3
Yes,
data points.
Absolutely.
And then their own assessments or their
Yeah.
curriculum may have some other summative assessments that can really support them in really understanding what children know.
Yeah, and FastBridge is, it's not as long as like an MCA test. That is more adaptive to the student. To get an idea of where the student is, in level, of their understanding. So it's adapted to the student as the student is answering the question, where an MCA is not so much that way.
So MCA state regimented testing, do they calculate the FastBridge data as well? Or do
They
we
do
keep
not
that
know.
internally?
FastBridge
That's
is,
our,
Not everyone uses Fastbridge. There's
or some
multiple tests.
variation, this is the only
Correct.
one that the state
This is
monitored,
state-
this
correct?
is state monitored, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why it's important to use this and other stuff. And that's what they encourage to do,
Right.
as you can see by the inappropriate uses.
Right.
Any other questions?
Well, thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
VIS.
Your House of members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Workamp Herman, got an hour-long PBIS presentation here, so.
Sit back and enjoy.
Yeah. Just talking about PBIS and what it is, how we implement it, why we implement it in our schools. PBIS was part of the Minnesota PACT's curriculum, and they encourage us to put into schools for behavior supports, academic supports, culture supports, to help our kids become better socially, emotionally, and academically prepared in our classrooms. The nice thing about PBIS is they don't tell us what to do. They don't give us lessons. They don't tell us what to put up on our halls, how to approach it. So it's really much an adaptive thing for our school and our kids. And you'll see that around our buildings. It's a lot of it is on the front end. We work on the front end, putting the work on the front end to get the results on the back end. And that's really what this is it's trying to get ahead of behaviors, emphasize the good ones, redirect the negative ones or the unwanted behaviors. And a lot of it is evidence-based, on approaching things from a positive standpoint rather than a negative you did this standpoint. So we included this graphic out of here as far as what PBIS is. In the coming probably months, you're going to hear a lot more about MTSS, multi-tiered support systems. This is a component to that, where PBIS, you can see that pyramid is 80% of a bulk of this PBIS work is done in a tier 1 approach, which is preventative for everybody. And then as you go up into the 15 and 5%, those are just higher tiers of kids needing additional supports. And that's what PBIS does. So tier 1 is for everybody. Tier 2 is maybe for the next chunk. And tier 3 is for the highly individualized people. But even in this graphic, it's for everybody. It's how we operate in our schools, but also at events, activity events, in the community, and beyond. Sure.
Foundations of PBIS, it's about prevention. About getting out in front of those things. The biggest one for me is it's defining and teaching positive social expectations. Kids won't behave the way you want them to behave until you teach them what that is and how they do it. And that's the biggest part of PBIS is teaching and modeling the behavior that you want to see in your buildings. It is also about acknowledging positive behavior, teaching staff to have consistent responses for areas that you define as problems. There might be problems that are identified on a monthly, quarterly, biannual, any way that you want to look at it. Most of our stuff is done monthly, where we're looking at this time at this place, we get a lot of these issues. And so to be proactive is what supports can we put in place to eliminate or correct what we're seeing in the hallways or in the gym or in the lunchroom. And then we can make those decisions and put supports and ideas in place. Ongoing collection and use of data, like we said, continuum of intensive individual intervention supports. A lot of the stuff when you see tier 1, it's everyone is experiencing that, everyone is a part of that. A lot of the tier 2 and tier 3 stuff that you will see in PBIS is us aligning resources to what students need. A lot of that is likely happening behind the scenes, social workers, Northern Pines, other support services, any outside support services that they may have. It could also mean academic support services, special education. There are a ton of 504, academic intervention, title, all of those support services go in place as a part of the overall PBIS structure to help support that student and their needs in school. And then the implementation of systems that support those effective practices. If you are going to clean up hallway, you might have to have a system or some sort of plan in place that's going to address that. And then the staff gets together and puts that together. So why do we have it? As a district-wide approach, a shift away from do not. Lucas, don't throw your garbage on the floor. Don't do that. Instead of in Royalton, our expectation is that we put our garbage in the basket. Thanks for helping out with that. And that shift in the language is key to PBIS. We expect that. In Royalton, this is the way we do it. When you see you go walk down the hallway and you see a kid kick the garbage can up, hey, not the way we do it, you know? Or, hey, here we make sure we clean up after ourselves. And that's the expectation, and it's said in a positive manner. You might even have to model that. It's a great opportunity, and it's an easy thing to pick up a garbage can, especially when they see you do it in the hallway, is that if you know, there's times where I can hear the kids snickering a little bit because if someone spills their water bottle, I'll go get the mop and mop it up. And I want them to see that we're modeling that behavior. So the next time they spill their water bottle, they might think, hey, where can I find that mop that Mr. Swenson had before, and I'll take care of this. And now you start getting those behaviors, model behaviors and things that they can fix themselves. You see the charts around both buildings, the pause, and then the behavior expectations in the cafetoriums and the hallways up in the commons at the high school. We have different expectations set for different areas, and we define that those are all staff developed. That is not a canned resource through PBIS. When we went through PBIS, we developed those things ourselves. So almost all of the things that you see around the building that deal with the PBIS, the high schools had two groups go through. The elementary schools had one group go through. One group was a K-12 group. And then we had the first group was just a high school group that went through PBIS. And together in those cohorts, we were putting these resources together for the district. And then a lot of it, everything is about relationship building. When your students respect the school, they respect the people who work there, they respect each other, they respect the people who come in from other places. And build those relationships with them. That is a big key to having success with PBIS.
It's a lot easier to get somebody to work with you when you're positive and you build that relationship rather than a compliance based. Kids will run through a brick wall for you when you give them the respect and talk to them like a human being in a positive way rather than a negative way. The grid system that we have, the matrix, this is at the elementary building for pause. That's been in there for quite some time. So we have our big behavior matrix, but then also in the different areas, whether it's classroom or the hallways, the playground, cafeteria, there are much smaller signs and bigger signs so that kids can read them, so they know what to expect when they go in there. Teachers teach these, they model them, and we're able to refer to them if they're not abiding by pause. We do have our pause slips when kids are doing exactly what they're expected to, or they go above and beyond, or a child is not, has not done what we expect, but you catch them, or you not catch them, you see them doing good, you reward that. That's what we do, is they get a pause slip, they go in, and then they get recognized at for us at our bell ring ceremonies, as well as on Fridays, so.
This is the high school posters. I'm sure you've seen those in different areas, and it's basically the same thing as the elementary school. I can tell you from experience of sitting on both cohorts at one point, so being doubly trained in PBIS, saying that you're going to put it in positive language is much easier said than done. It is so easy to say, we don't do this, or no running, no, you don't do it that way. And so, staff took a long time through the process. This is a major part of development of PBIS at the high school level. Ours are respect yourself, respect others, and respect our school. And then in all of those different settings, ways that you can demonstrate that.
I talked about this already, pause slips and pause awards. That's what the bell ringing, our specialist teachers give out an award for the best group, and they probably hang those up as well. I got a pause award at the first bell ringing ceremony for what I've done for the school so far. So that was neat to see that and be presented with that from the staff. So
Have any of you been to bell ringing ceremony with elementary? I strongly recommend you go. It's really fun. The kids love it. And I have to tell you, I have to give kudos to Tony. So it was his first bell ringing ceremony. And he stands up there. He says, "Good morning." And they say good morning. And then he says, as loud as probably they have ever heard a principal in their school say, "Good morning." And they just yelled it back, and it just set the tone, and it was wonderful. So I really encourage you to go, because they really do have fun. It's good. Yeah, Tony did a good job.
And when you model there's spoons laying on the ground, or you pick it up, or an empty table, and I grabbed a piece of garbage. "Oh, let me take that, Mr. Newman." Took it out of my hand and threw it in the garbage. That's what we want. And that's what these rewards, these positive affirmations of what they're doing. That's what it's all about. So.
At the high school, I too have been a recipient of my own, of a PBIS positive behavior card, and I am honest to God telling you, it meant something to me when I was like, you get the mail and there's a postcard. I'm thinking it's for one of the kids, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is to me. Wow, that's really nice. And when they receive the postcards for us, they get each teacher gets a amount of postcards, and we're trying to get one in the hands of every kid. Somewhere along the line, we catch them doing something that we like, and that's good. But we also, they get put into a box in the office, and then weekly, our guidance counselor and social worker put them together, put the postage on them, and send them out to homes. We have a student parking spot that we draw for, as long as you have not been in suspension or detentions. You were there's a parking spot saying Royalton special student, or Royalton well-behaved student. I can't remember exactly what the sign says. But they have a student parking spot that they draw for, out there. It's preferred parking. We do some bi-weekly drawings. One of the features that we did this year, and you're gonna get to see a couple of these, part of teaching that behavior, you could go to that matrix chart and follow directions, do what's asked of you, and do it. We did it in PowerPoint, and the kids kind of just sat there and looked at us with how there's got to be a better way to do this, which provides a little bit of fun. We did one year on the first day of school, we did a skit where teachers were playing all the different parts of, the kids sleeping in back, and so you'd have teachers kind of doing a skit like that to kind of teach some of the expected behaviors. With technology and the screens and Google and all that stuff we have now, we did videos this year. On the August 21st and 22nd, we assigned groups to do teaching these videos, modeling these videos. And we're gonna show you a couple of the best ones. We actually had we had Oscars for these, but these would be something that we'll show throughout the year. To show kind of what our expectations are and model some behavior we don't want to see, behavior that we do want to see. With high school kids, you got to have a little fun with them, capture their attention. I thought these were very well done, and so we'll show you a couple of these now. They're about 2 or 3 minutes in length. Did make sure the road was clear. Seatbelt plug.
Yes, all right, yes. Water.
So that's the parking one, and then this is the one for assemblies, and I didn't realize I was gonna be a participant in this one. I was not part of this group. The bottle says alcohol on it.
Yeah, you're right.
So those are a couple examples that we will release throughout the year on those PBIS videos. We're still have a few more to make. The paras will be making one. And then I believe the PBIS committee will also make another one, but they'll be released about every 2 or 3 weeks. We'll release another one, and we kind of set them up based on timing throughout the school year as to when those fit to release them. So.
Can we stay abreast?
Yeah, we could probably share some of these videos. They're all very well done. And you know, what's funny is that every one of the videos, they were introduced on Monday that you're going to be making a video tomorrow. We had a presentation for PBIS from a statewide presenter. And then the next day, the assignment was to create that video. And I'm going to guess that every one of those videos was made in under 45 minutes. From planning to the point where there was some editing, like Caitlin cheated and she helped out some of the groups with the editing pieces, she's good with computers, but.
Yeah, one group uploaded their video.
Yes, okay, so maybe I'm the one who got help too. It was something that did not take a lot of time. I mean, that took probably less than what it would have taken to put a PowerPoint together and go through it. And you're seeing PowerPoints, you know, PowerPoints you're gonna do that for 8 different areas throughout the year. They're gonna be looking forward to these things. And even if they take a nugget of it, you know, in the parking lot, if they park straight and put their seatbelt on when they leave here, and that's a behavior that we can encourage, then we're winning. And, we'll win a little bit at a time, one step at a time, one behavior at a time. And it really helps when we just don't have a lot of major issues in the first place. And so it's just keeping that expectation up there for our kids. So questions about PBIS or?
I can't wait to tell my kids that Mr. Swenson is not smiling.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the activity one is shown this week or maybe.
Yeah. I do have instructions now that every other year on school picture day, I have to have a smiling picture and a non-smiling. So.
I do have one question. You talked about it a little bit, that there was some training done, but, how do we get PBIS training and how do we, when a teacher's onboarded here, how do we integrate them into that process?
So not all, it's kind of a trainer setup, so not all of the staff is trained. Our cohort was usually, they do a cohort is usually about 6 to 8 people in each building, I suppose. So we're fortunate that the high school, there's probably 15 or 16 of us that have been trained in PBIS and the other half have not. The goal is in each building that those trainers that get trained go back in and help the development of that and bring the rest of the team up to speed.
Awesome. Well, great work. That's fun. Like a good training tool. All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
All right, next is approval of donations by resolutions. So, do I have a motion to introduce the donation resolution? By Director Trout. Introduce the following resolution and move to its adoption. Shields has generously offered to donate a $350 gift card to use towards the community education pickleball class. Here's Freedom Music Fest has generously donated $500 to the Royalton Drama Club Student Activities Fund for helping with cleaning the event site and the campground. Money should be used for any costume sets, props, or any other expenses connected to the performance of plays. The American Legion has generously donated $3,800 to the 2023 Deep Portage 5th grade trip. The Initiative Foundation has generously donated a grant of $1,000 for Mr. Skira to provide equipment to support hands-on learning to students on trades, career opportunities, and courses. And the conditions of these gifts were included with that packet. So therefore be it resolved by the Royalton School Board to gratefully accept those gifts. The motion for adoption of the foregoing resolution was seconded by member Bauman. And upon a roll call vote was taken.
Director Bauman.
Aye.
Director Hofstad.
Aye.
Director Hackett.
Aye.
Director Boyd.
Aye.
Director Rory. Aye. Director Trout. Aye.
All right. And the foregoing resolution was approved this 25th day of September 2023. Very much. Okay, policy readings. So we had 4 policies that we did get through, besides the ones that are going for the second policy reading of approval. We have 11 other policies that we did not even get to. So we're not really adding much to our schedule for this. So there's 4 on the second policy readings, which is 601, the school district curriculum and instruction goals, 603 curriculum development, 613 graduation requirements, and 616 school district system accountability. So this is the second time we're going to look at each one of these. And then I'll entertain a motion for approval of second policy readings for the final reading due to minor changes. For 532, use of peace officers and crisis teams to remove students with IEPs from school grounds. Number 534, schools meals policy.
Motion to approve.
All right, Director Bowman. Second. I'll second it. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Those 2 policies. All right, an upcoming meeting schedule. So, like I said at the beginning, Wednesday, September 27th at 6 p.m. Strategic Planning Committee meeting. So we don't really have, as a board, anybody that's assigned to do that. Last time we did these, we kind of rotated 2 board members going to one and then 2 to another and 2 to another as we do that. Does anybody want to go to this, this first one on the 27th?
I'm unable to participate in this specific one for September, but if we do a rotation schedule like that, I might be able to participate
Okay,
in a different month coming forward.
yeah. I do plan to go to the one on the
Wednesdays,
27th.
are they all on Wednesdays?
I don't know.
Well, we never really planned, because we don't have these like every month.
Right,
We have them just every so often. It generally ends up being Wednesday because there's always activities every other night. That's how it's been working out. It doesn't always mean it has to.
yeah, that's tough for me, that's religion night for our kids. My wife teaches, so I'm home with the young ones. Ed daycare. That's right. I can't make Wednesday this week.
Well, I will be there. I'll help with that. I didn't get to do the ones last time because I was gone for every single one of them out of state, so. Next is Wednesday, October 11th for a policy meeting. I'll be here for that one. We're not changing this one. First time for that in a while.
I was going to, try to allow a little bit more than an hour for that.
Well,
It's just a huge docket.
it is, you're absolutely correct. Maybe we'll just change agenda setting then to a different day, and then because we have mid-state that day, but.
And even if we had another half hour, we could,
Yeah.
you know, maybe one or two more policies we could get through.
Are you available for that, Brian?
Yes,
So do you want to do a 1 or a 1:30?
I'm fine with either, as long as I'm done by 3.
Let's do a 1.
Let's do a one then.
Then we could probably leave agenda setting too.
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, we can always do that beforehand.
Right.
And then the 17th, the noon finance committee meeting. And then, the next board meeting is October 23rd, 6 p.m. All right. Anything else? All right, I will take a motion to close the regular meeting at 7:32. By Director Bowman,
Second.
second by Director Roaring. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. So. Yep. So, yeah, and we're gonna start a closed meeting for superintendent evaluation. As permitted by Minnesota statute, section 13D.05.